Welcome back to the second part of our two-part session, Freewheeling with Chakra. And this is really Freewheeling with Sritama. And it's really wonderful having you here. And you have gone into some very deep subjects, which I really enjoy. So over
Thank you
to
so much.
you. You have to tell me now about me. You have to continue where we left off on how you're going to break something, break the mold partially and keep
Yeah.
the parts. Yeah. So over to you.
Well, uh, just like most of the like most headstrong teenagers, I myself was a headstrong teenager as well. I thought that I have to break the entire shell. I have to be extremely. I have to kind of rebel against my parents, my elders, come out strong, and go against the fool. That was how I thought. Like most of the youngsters now. And that was how I was moving in life. When I got into graduation, I thought, well, after graduation, I won't be taking this pressure anymore. During the graduation days, also, I had a few breakdowns. I kind of, um, since my first year only, I kept on actually pushing my parents away. I the the shell got harder. Um, then during this lockdown period, I actually understood that also this um, understanding my parents, not totally like sidelining them. I actually saw the pain that my friend's parents faced after losing him. Like his entire family was devastated. He was a single child also. And his entire family was devastated. Were his parents are completely shattered mentally as well as physically. That thing was also huge. Like that also awakened something inside me. Like I felt by sidelining my parents, I was not only um, moving in the wrong direction, I was also inflicting a lot of pain in them. I had to consult my parents, sit them and sit with them and talk them through. I should make them understand what I am capable of and what I am not. I should let them understand that I am actually feeling pressurized and they should listen now.
Okay.
I had quite a number of I sat and talked with them quite a number of times. I wasn't that close to my father. I couldn't bond with him emotionally because most of it was because he was like the stricter of the two parents. I was quite terrified of him. Um,
Okay.
and that thing resulted in me developing an aversion towards sharing any stuff with him, anything, especially about the parts where I was emotionally dealing. So I wasn't able to share that much with my father, but yeah, I was able to share that with my mother quite well. And she, with time, shared the same stuff with my father. She made my father understand
Okay.
me as an individual. Then he came forward. First, he wasn't able to understand me properly, and he wasn't giving up on his old means of pressurizing me, of kind of like using the old methods that his parents used to use on him. He thought that
Yes,
that
yes,
was the
yes,
only
yes.
method.
Yes, 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 yes.
And
If it has worked for me, it should work for you.
work from my, yeah,
We don't rethink this because you also were not giving the feedback. It was important for
exactly.
you to give the feedback.
And I think this is a problem with a lot of parents, like a lot of our parents.
Hmm.
They think that the process by which they grew up, the way their parents handled them. Maybe they should use the same. If they use the same techniques with us, we will respond positive. But it's not the same. Every individual is different.
Exactly.
And every generation is different as well. Like we are progressing. We are not. We as a society is not stagnant. If we have the same mindset, then we wouldn't have progressed. If their methods can't be used in a generation that has come afterwards. This method is like a newer generation, the methods also have to be progressive. We should know how to deal with the upcoming generation. Every generation is ahead of us in some way or the other. Like nowadays, most of the parents, they have this complaint regarding their children that they are addicted to mobile phones, they're addicted to electronic gadgets. But again, we can see post lockdown, mostly it is post lockdown. We are kind of indispensable without, like, life has become indispensable without this.
It was, you see, it was forced on us. Why just your generation? Why just
was
your
actually
generation? I'm
forced.
finding the older generation to be more addicted, even.
Actually, that's what I'm
I'm just
finding.
an exception who is, I keep the phone 10 feet away from me. I dislike phones. I mean, that is my own personal, preference against
Yeah,
phones, so to say. But that doesn't mean I'm not sitting down I mean, I get up in the morning and my computer is switched on. Whether I use it or not, it's always,
use it and
it's become, the computer and internet increasingly have become a lifeline for many of us,
actually,
including the older generation. It's like we feel suddenly, we feel lost and absolutely deserted if we don't have that one person who's somewhere floating around and saying hi to us from somewhere.
exactly.
There has to,
Also,
and this happened to me not during the lockdown or any other time. I realized this happened to me when I lost my mother, and this is like as far back as 2007. So you can imagine, like perhaps since 2007, I have probably had this computer or whichever computer on for like maybe all my waking hours. It's on because it has turned into a support system of, it's the only way I can bring somebody I care for into the room instantly.
yeah,
And I was very close to
exactly,
my mother, so losing her meant, having to fill that gap in some way. And some
exactly.
of people who came in on over internet, they filled that gap remarkably well.
Yeah,
There's always
they filled that
someone.
void within you.
I never have my dinner alone. I always have company for dinner. It's not necessarily, it's very rarely physical company, because people are so preoccupied with their own lives that it's not, people
Yeah,
don't really, it's not like the old days when people would just get together for dinner, get together for lunch, even while going about their work. It was much easier
yeah,
back in the day. And
actually,
these days all we are doing is, okay, you have your dinner, I have my dinner, but we are both together in the same room, even if
yeah,
we may be in different cities. So
exactly,
it's come to stay. I mean, as a sociologist, this is something also which should be of interest to you, how we are
actually.
managing to bond very intimately across this, across ether, where there is no physical presence.
I think the,
Are we
the reason,
actually
the exact
bonding?
thing,
Are we missing something? What are
I
we
think,
missing? This is a subject
right
for me.
now, not being on a social media platform, like a major social media platform like Instagram or Facebook, kind of results in that FOMO in many youngsters.
That's
Like
in
they have this
youngsters, yes. That's a FOMO.
and
Yes,
that's the FOMO in
that is
youngsters.
FOMO. Yes. And that
But
leads to a
now
lot
I'm
of
seeing,
insecurity.
that leads to a lot of insecurities, of course. But
But
now
in
I
the
see
first place, it arises from insecurity.
it arises from insecurities. It arises from also, I think, like nowadays, this FOMO is more among the older generation
Is it?
because it is
Your
actually
parents,
funny
you
thing.
mean you notice in
I have,
your
yeah,
parents' generation?
I have noticed that I sometimes feel like my mother knows a lot more than me regarding the internet, how to use a mobile and various other gadgets. I think she knows more
But your
than me.
mother can't
She
be
is not,
very old. She can't be very old.
she isn't very old, but the thing is, she hasn't been using a mobile phone till 2000. She hadn't been using a smartphone till 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
Oh,
She
okay.
started using a smartphone since the end of 2020.
But she must have used a
And I have
computer
been
and done
using,
all her email and stuff.
even she wasn't quite savvy in using a
Okay.
computer.
Okay.
She wasn't a computer savvy at all. And now she knows a lot more than me.
Okay. I have been a
She's
computer
constantly
professional,
searching.
so my relationship with computers is something different. You see, so
Yeah.
I can't not have a computer floating around somewhere in my vicinity. Whatever be, I mean, the phone, okay, phone does its own work, but this is like vital for me.
Yeah.
I've sort of grown up with these things around me. They're almost like living creatures. No, I've seen them through all their stages of evolution, so there always has to be one in the room doing
Yeah.
its job.
Like
So
my father, he has always been a computer savvy person, but others in my
okay,
family
who else
weren't
do you
the
have?
same.
You have siblings.
I have a brother.
What does he do?
He just he's actually preparing for his medicals. Like preparing to
Oh, okay.
give the joint the yeah
Okay, so
join for
no,
the
no
medical.
other humanities person.
My mother,
Yeah, mother and you. Okay.
my mother and me. My
So
father and
he's
my brother, they're
science.
completely towards the difference.
Okay.
Yeah, they have selected science, and I
Hmm.
have selected humanities. I have always been like, as I told you earlier, like
Partial to
humanities has always
humanities.
been
Yes.
my, yeah.
Yes.
Humanities has always been my area of interest. I
Hmm.
always had this love for history, and then it developed. Then that passion, that love developed for sociology. History has always been my area of interest. Like
Hmm. Hmm.
I always had a passion for history, especially Indian history.
Okay.
Yeah, my mother, she herself is a professor in history.
Okay.
And
Which is her field of interest in history?
she teaches medieval history, medieval Indian history.
Medieval Indian. Okay. And in Indian history, which is your favorite period?
I think my favorite period in history is the medieval periods also. The medieval
Okay. Which
India.
which aspect of
Well,
it in particular?
the various like the Muslim rule in India
Uh,
since the time of Muhammad the Ghori, like how the Mahmud of Ghazni, he looted India,
uh-huh.
like he looted the temple thrice, and
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
came the Muhammad Ghori, and from there we had the slave dynasty ruling, the
Hmm.
Khalji dynasty, Lodi, and in the end, I there was the Tughlaq dynasty that I missed. Then there was
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
Lodi dynasty,
Hmm.
and then the advent of the Mughals,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
and in the end, the British rule. The British rule, yeah, I also had this interest to know more about the British rule, to know more about the freedom fighters, the revolutionaries, especially.
Hmm. Hmm.
But my area of interest has always been medieval, when India
Okay.
was the epitome of culture, glory, and wealth.
Okay. And as a sociologist, which aspect of that interests you most from that period?
Sociologically speaking, I think like the administration, the style of administration varied for every dynasty and every ruler as well. Like some parts were Some parts were similar, some were different. Some of the rulers were extremely, they were actually tyrants, and some were extremely benevolent. As it was a monarchical setup throughout, but the, they had their variations. But amidst so many variations and so many new things involved in the administration, they sustained for a very long period, in a place which is culturally diverse. India, as we call it, unity in diversity. The country is extremely diverse. It has a lot of cultures in it. The spectrum of culture is very wide. And bringing the entire country under one roof is something that is admirable. And every dynasty was able to do this, starting from the Mauryan period, of course. But I'm talking about the foreign roots in India. The Mauryans, the Guptas, they were from India only.
Yes.
But the Muslim dynasties,
Yes.
Islamic rule in India was from Afghanistan and from Turkey. This was like the Afghans and the Turks who ruled India. So being a foreign power,
Yes.
and coming to a different country, bringing the people under them, and having a holistic setup. But it was different from every emperor.
Every emperor had his own approach.
Own approach.
Very
Every emperor
distinctive.
had his own very distinctive approach. They also took inspiration from their predecessors, but they had their distinct approach, and they were still able to manage such a huge country.
Now, meanwhile, what was happening in the south of the country?
The south, not just the south, we shouldn't forget about
the south, the
northwestern side, the
yes,
Rajput.
Yes, the Mughals
was
of course extended far, I mean, quite a bit to the east. But if you look, like if you go deep down south and if you go far north,
there was still the Cholas, Pandyas ruling in south.
Yes, and
there was the Cholas, Chalukyas, Pandyas ruling
until
there.
I mean, how long did they go on? I mean, you can see somewhere a distinctive north-south divide, right?
Actually, I think they went on for a very long period because, as we all know, most of us know, Hyderabad used to be. Just give me a second. I'm getting too many notifications on my mobile. I should actually stop it.
Yeah.
Sorry for the interruption.
No problem.
I was actually getting too many notifications on WhatsApp, and it was open on my laptop. So, as I was saying, Hyderabad was actually under the Nizam rule, even during the British period.
Yes.
So I think if we consider this way, some parts were supposed to have their independent rule. It was not possible to extend the rule that far. Like as we saw in case of the Tughlaq dynasty, during Muhammad bin Tughlaq, he kind of shifted his capital from Delhi to Daulatabad and then back to Delhi. Because it was difficult to rule the entire country from Delhi itself.
Yes.
I think that was because of the country's land area. It is like we have peninsula below, and probably it was difficult.
Top heavy and narrowing
Narrower
down and distinctly maritime on the two sides, no?
Exactly, distinctly maritime.
So those maritime cultures are very different because the Mughals came overland.
Exactly. The maritime culture is extremely different. Actually,
Yes.
the fun fact is, they aren't like the Dravidians were being suppressed, subdued, and oppressed by the Aryans as well.
Yes.
Like they have faced a lot of oppression from the Aryan race, the Aryan civilization as well.
Hmm.
Like as we know, the depiction of the Hanumans in Ramayana,
Mm-hmm.
the Hanumans, the Rakshasas in
Mm-hmm.
Ramayana.
Mm.
Historical evidences show they were actually the Dravid. That was actually the Dravidian race being
Yeah, there are
represented.
many theories on who these people actually are.
There are a
And
lot of theories, but yeah,
if you read, I don't know if you have read the South Indian versions, like there is
I have read the South Indian version of
versions of
Ramayana as
Ramayana,
well.
like the popular Ramayana in the in South India is the Kamba Ramayanam, and
Yeah,
that is like you will not find there are all these very patriarchal and very pretty obnoxious stories subsequent to the victory that come, and those portions are actually
yes,
not there in those. And even the
exactly.
depiction of Ravana is like a much more empathetic one. As in,
Much more
not as the
empathetic and very,
evil
yeah,
fellow when nobody goes around burning him and stuff in South India.
exactly.
So it's
It's kind of a hostile, it kind of depicts a hostile relationship between two
hmm.
races, I feel.
Yes, yes, yes. That is one way of looking at it. I mean, there are so many interpretations. Something is set so far back in mythology, and through every era, someone is reinterpreting, reimagining,
Exactly.
rewriting it, putting their two bits. Finally, what comes out at this end is history, legend, mythology, psychology, sociology. Everything is tossed together in one
Everything
heap, and this
tossed together
grand
in
epic
one pan.
comes out. So
Exactly.
you see,
Actually,
that's part of the fun.
we are actually trying to like, we are trying to study it from various aspects.
Mm,
Like
mm, mm, mm.
sociologists like me, we are trying to
Mm, mm, mm,
study it from a sociological aspect.
mm, mm,
Psychologists are trying to study the psychology going behind
mm,
the
mm,
war
mm,
or
mm,
the
mm.
depiction of these characters.
There's one way.
Historians in a different way.
Talking of, you had said something. The your field of interest on the women bonding. And
Yeah.
helping one another. This is one area of interest you have, right? Tell me a little bit about the thesis. How you have selected your topic for your upcoming research.
Well, I first attempted to conduct my research on Black lesbianism
Uh-huh.
only.
Huh. How did
And
you pick
then I
on
felt,
black lesbianism rather than something within the country? Was there
well,
a reason to?
actually, I actually find, I actually find the queer movement to be extremely inspiring. And I have found a connection between the feminist movement and the queer movement at some part.
Feminist movement
And
and the
queer movement.
okay, huh? Yes, that is there
I have
definitely. That is
There is
definitely there.
definitely a connection between the two. And at some point, I feel that the queer movement is kind of an offshoot of the feminist movement. Maybe it was inspired from the feminist movement a lot.
There is
And
definitely a lot of there is intersectionality there, very large.
there is a
Yes,
lot of intersectionality there.
yes. But
And
why black?
I have seen that the
Black as
mainstream
in black
feminists,
American.
The Afro-American feminism,
Yes,
yes.
yes, yes.
Actually, the other aspects of feminism, like the other strands of feminism, I think they kind of portrayed the struggles of the white women most.
Ah, okay,
It
okay.
was extremely generalized,
Mm, mm,
which actually gave birth to the postmodern feminism, the intersectionality.
mm, mm,
And I think like if we are not able to break from this generalization,
mm,
if we are not able to identify the struggles of a different race altogether, be it the blacks or the
mm,
Asian women, the brown women, they
mm.
have a different struggle than the white women. But most of the feminist theory depicts the struggles of the white women, and it has been generalized.
Okay.
And the black feminism, like, it appeared as a footnote in my feminist theory. The struggles of the black feminists was just a footnote. And I felt this needs to be studied more. This shouldn't be a footnote anymore. This
Yes.
should be included with the chapters.
Mm,
People
mm,
should
mm,
know
mm,
more
mm,
about
mm,
the struggles of the black feminists.
mm,
And they faced a multitude of oppressions. Like,
mm, mm.
unlike the white women who
See,
faced
there
the
was
oppression from there
men,
was
they're
just
men folk.
one-sided.
Mm, mm,
There was oppression from just one side. They had to break the patriarchal setup imposed upon them by the white men.
mm.
But black women had a threefold uh,
Right, you are.
oppression.
Slavery.
There was not just the slavery, like
Slavery is,
we can
but slavery and
slavery
you
was
know,
a kind of, it was on both the black men and the women.
yes,
But talking
yes.
about the black women only, the black
Okay,
women kind only, the
okay.
oppression was from their men,
Mm. It was from
from
white
and
men,
from white men and white
white
women.
women, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I get it.
absolutely.
Mm, mm,
So, but the problem was the white people. It
mm,
was problem with the white and the black people conflict was
mm,
the the white people, they thought that maybe granting freedom from slavery was the only way to actually give them a better life,
mm.
or make them feel, or giving them ultimate freedom is giving them like clean it from slavery, like give
Okay.
actually
Mm,
freeing them from slavery. But that was not the intent. They absolutely they kind of what should I say, they didn't look within, they didn't see within the, like, within the community, the oppressions that these women were facing.
mm.
The threefold oppression was absolutely not taken into account, and since they were a minority, their voices were not heard, and they faced a different sort of oppression.
Mm.
Their oppression was not similar to the white women oppression. I thought it it's time that people should know more about this community and women nurturing women.
Mm.
This again, like, I have seen the black lesbians were not much depicted in the black feminist writings, the black feminist theories. Yeah, of course, there are authors like Patricia Hill Collins,
Mm.
or there is Alice Walker,
Mm.
Audre Lorde,
Mm. Mm. Mm.
who are influential in bringing the black lesbians, like, through their
Voices
works.
to the fore.
They
Yes.
yeah, they were the voices of the black lesbians,
Mm.
but a lot of it remains unknown till date.
Mm.
Lot, like, even within the black community, it was considered an abomination
Mm.
to be anything, to keep
Oh
anything other
yes.
than
Oh yes. Oh yes.
anything
Oh yes.
other than heteronormativity.
Yes, yes. Even, I mean, even in contemporary times, very much so.
Yeah, even so in contemporary
Mm.
times. And I have selected the black community in general because since 2020, we have seen a lot of incidents um, surrounding black lives. We have
Mm.
seen the atrocities meted out towards them. And
Do you
we
have
have
any
seen
friends? Do you have any black friends?
Not really. I do have friends who are living in USA right now. They are from India. Okay.
Okay.
I have friends from different parts of the country. Unfortunately, not from USA.
Mm.
I have a lot of acquaintances from Germany.
Mm.
Uh, they happen to be my father's friends,
Okay.
and a few from Egypt as well.
Oh, that's
And
interesting.
yeah, That's yeah. He was my father's colleague as well.
Okay.
But unfortunately, I do not have anyone
You might
native from that country.
you might like to connect with a few people, Black
Yeah,
American women.
that will actually be extremely beneficial for me.
I will look out for some of my friends if I can introduce you to them to see if they could be of
Yeah,
any help to you.
actually, that will be extremely beneficial for me.
Yes. It's
Yes,
having a very deep conversation. I mean, do you usually have these deep conversations? Who are your favorite people for having this kind of conversation?
well, I have a few people in my life with whom I can have a deep conversation.
Hmm.
Um, there's one person, he goes by the name Shubhojit,
Okay.
and he kind of pushes me to he actually gets me to introspect
Hmm.
and find the answers from within myself
That's
sometimes.
very interesting.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I remember one day what he did. Uh, like Shubhajit, he just asked me out of blue, like I was discussing some topics about sociology with him.
Hmm.
He is from the law background,
Okay. Hmm.
and uh, we have been romantically involved for some time now.
Okay. Hmm.
And one day I was like, he always kind of pushes me to um, be a better version of myself.
Again, you're being
He
pushed. Everyone who meets you pushes
yeah, actually,
you.
I think that I always need that push, or
You
else
always
I don't know.
you have started thinking you need the push, but
I
what is it about
I
you that
think
makes everyone want to push you? Now I'm curious. Even
actually I
I
think
pushed you into this talk show. I
I
mean,
kind of
you
think
didn't need
like
much pushing. I just invited you, and you were so happy to come. I was like very surprised. Most people say, "I'm shy," interview. No, 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 not me. Blah blah blah. But this is not an interview. This is a freewheeling session. We're sitting and having an adda like two friends.
yeah,
So it's
actually
basically just that. And I find what you're doing extremely interesting. But with him, you're
actually
saying
like
that you have these deep conversations.
yeah, he's from a very different background. He's from
Hmm.
the law background.
Hmm.
But he loves listening to me
Hmm. Hmm.
uh bantering about sociology or
Shubhajit,
about the
are you
various
watching? I hope you watch these
Shubhojit
episodes.
will, yeah, he's very like he actually is constantly asking me like when he will get the recording of the session. He's
Oh, he's
extremely
already
particular. Yeah.
asking you. Yeah, yeah. I'll put up everything tonight. Just hang in there, my friend. I'll put up everything tonight. This has actually been very
Yeah,
interesting for
he's
me to do
extremely
this show.
interesting.
Yes. And who else? Will your parents watch it?
Yeah, my mother,
I'm sure
she
she
has
will
been
watch
asking
it.
me a
And
lot of
has
questions.
anyone interviewed you like this before?
I have been interviewed quite a number of times via
Ah.
call, face to face.
Okay. But anything
I
like on
remember like
TV, etc. You appeared on, I don't know, you seem
no,
extremely confident and extremely ready to open up. So I find this very charming, really. I'm not
thank
having
you
any
so
work.
much.
I don't have any work to do. You're just talking and I'm listening and enjoying myself.
Actually, I have been hosting shows, not on TV,
Hmm.
but on various other platforms. I've been hosting shows.
What kind of
You have seen
platforms?
like mostly like physical shows.
Okay, okay, okay.
Sometimes on not on social media, some maybe like on Zoom meetings or anything.
Ah,
Also, I teach, like I have actually taken the job of teaching a few kids music. So I have
this is
to be,
classical music.
yeah. This is Western music.
This is what kind of
I'm this.
Western music? Metal?
No, not at all. They are kids, and they kind of those kids are extremely into pop music, and I kind of have a very hard time getting them to learn Western, like the music theories, and
You've learnt
getting them
Western
prepared for
music
the.
also. You've learnt Western as
Yeah, I
well
had.
as Indian classical.
Yeah, both.
Oh, wonderful. Like Western, or you play something, or
No,
you
I
sing.
don't. Vocals.
Where did you learn?
I actually, Western vocals, Western music, I taught myself. I
You
didn't
taught
learn it
yourself.
from
Wow. And
anyone.
the theory?
Yeah. The
Theory
theory is a
also you
little
taught
thing.
yourself.
Yeah, I'm a
Wow.
self-taught person in Western music.
Okay.
And in Indian classical, I took lessons from one of the professors in classical music at Rabindra Bharati University.
Okay.
She
So
has
Western,
mentored
but
me
we
for a
don't hear
long
you sing. Now we must hear you sing.
time. Yeah, I
Are there any
actually
recordings?
don't
Please
post.
share. Please share. Western
Yeah, I
and
do
Indian.
have
I
a
want to
few
hear both.
recordings of the both.
Because
I
I
have a
have
few
learned
recordings
both
of both.
kinds of music. So hence my,
Wow,
yes, I've learned both kinds of music. Indian I've
I
learned
have the
very
recording of
little,
both.
but Western I learned to quite a level.
I have recordings of both.
And
I am
how
actually
you
looking
somehow found
forward to
your way to
learning.
metal.
Actually, interestingly, my father is very much into rock and metal.
Oh, wow. So there's no
He's the
generation
person.
gap there. Zero
No,
generation gap.
zero generation gap there. I
Oh,
have grown
wow.
up listening to. I have grown up listening to Beethoven, Mozart playing in my
Okay. As
home,
well as metal.
as well as metal, as well as Rabindra Sangeet and
What is
Indian
your
classical.
father's favorite metal band? Let's hear it.
Yeah, that has to be Rammstein because he has seen them live.
Oh, I love them. Well, our time is running out. And one day
Yeah,
I think we must call your parents also on Zoom and we must all
yeah,
have
sure.
a nice chat together. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun because I want to know what your parents have to say about this generation gap and how they poured you into a mold and inside that mold you managed to put a shell around you. This is the most interesting thing I've heard. So break that shell and you're still there in the mold. You haven't come out
Yeah,
of the mold yet. It's only your
yeah,
shell
and I
you
don't
need to
want to.
break. You don't want to. So that's
Yeah,
amazing. It was your own shell you needed to break
yeah,
to defend yourself from parts of that, the contents of the
I don't.
mold, whatever, the molding. Now
Yeah,
that's over. So you should be happy.
it's almost over now.
Well, it
It's
will be
still
over
going on.
very soon. And
I hope so.
we'll keep that for our next session because Zoom will drive us out now. So
Yeah,
it's been
actually,
really wonderful. It's been really amazing having you, and we will get back together soon.
sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
And
so much for having me today.
once more, we'll meet.
It's so wonderful.
Take good care. Good night. And good night to
Good
all
night.
our audience. Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.